Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Today I want to have a conversation about what is the most overlooked card edition within the Splinterlands. I want to analyze as best we can a comparison between Riftwatchers and Rebellion. I think we can draw some conclusions about where they are in terms of their price points today and where they might move in the next few weeks, months, and maybe short years. I think this is deeply valuable information right now because I think there's a turning point coming in the next, say, 12 weeks that if we're ready for, we might take advantage of. And so if that sounds interesting, stick around and stay tuned. And this is a clip from a recent live event. If you want to be present during my members only live events, consider supporting the YouTube channel under the membership page. Can support me at whatever level you want. You'll be invited to the weekly live events. Thanks guys, have an amazing day. God bless. But with respect to Rebellion, I was looking at how many packs are remaining and how many packs have been sold. And I was starting to put some thoughts together around, where this leads, because I think we can make some speculations about price points. And I've said to you before on the channel that sometimes you need the first observer of an upcoming opportunity is often the one that takes advantage of that opportunity. Like if you heard about Bitcoin when it was at 1,000, which I did, and it took me a while to get around to actually buying a Bitcoin. Around 3,000 is when I started buying. You see, it's like when you hear about an opportunity is the beginning of that conversation for you to then take advantage of it. And I think we've got something to look forward to with respect to Rebellion that I think is worth looking at now. And so let's talk about that, because the number of packs that have moved and that are still in existence can tell us something about where this might go from a price point. If that sounds interesting, definitely stick around. I wonder what you guys think also. I'd love to hear thoughts in the comments around what the number of packs that have been issued and sold and are being held on Rebellion say to you about future price point. But where I want to go specifically is looking at the data on Splinter cards. And you can see that we got 82,000 circulating. That means purchased, not opened. We've got 845,000 opened, and we've got 542,000 in the DAO. And so if you add those all together, I already did, we're looking at 1.469 million, or so 1.4 million, or 146,000, or 1,469,000 that have been sold or opened so far, or that have been stored in the DAO. And so those are the packs, at least today, that are going to at some point in the future likely be open. I say likely because those DAO packs, 500,000 DAO packs, could conceivably be burnt. The DAO might make the decision to burn them. I don't think that makes sense, and I hope we don't do that. Probably at one point in the future we'll sell them, we'll stake them. I don't know, we'll give them away for different rewards or compensations for leaderboards or something like that. But we don't know that they'll be opened. Whereas the circulating supply, as well as the already open packs, of course, well, again, we don't know they'll be open either, but the open ones, 845,000, are already opened. And I bet the circulating supply of 82,000 will necessarily eventually be opened. And then you have to understand also, so that even if you assume every one of those gets open, we're at 1.5 million packs. And then we're going to sell some more between now and the end of circulation. But we're not going to sell 3 million more packs, not going to sell anywhere near the 36% that's available. And so at this rate, we're going to be less than 2 million packs, I think, that are either in the DAO, opened, or circulating. And that puts us it gives us a number to work with respect to supply. And then we can kind of begin to parse out what that might mean for price point because of demand. And there are a variety of factors that it's not just a number of units that are available or that might be available that you would want to look at if you were trying to analyze where Rebellion prices are going to go. But that's a factor for sure. So let's start there. So if we assume that even rough numbers, like there's 1.5 million packs open in the DAO or available currently, and if we sell, I bet we only sell another 200,000 to be honest. But if you went crazy and we sold 500,000, that puts us around that 2 million mark. And so if there's that 2 million that are, let's say, available, opened, or in the DAO, and 600,000 of those will be in the DAO, I guess, 700,000, who knows? I'm actually not sure. I'm not sure how the formula works for what goes into the DAO anymore. And that would affect the numbers, and we could fine tune this even more if we got that data. But just rough numbers, call it 2 million that are going to essentially be available, open, or stored by somebody as a closed pack. And then you compare that to, interestingly, Riftwatchers. We've got 122,000 circulating, 959,000 open, and some in the DAO as well. And for that, we get a total of 1.2 million or 1.3 million circulating, open, or in the DAO. And so you can start to compare those and say, well, you know, is the Rebellion going to be double that? 2.5? I don't think so. If it were, you know, does that mean that Rebellion should be half the price of Riftwatcher cards? Right? That's a starting thesis or hypothesis. Maybe if there's twice as many open or circulating or DAO packs of Rebellion than there are for Riftwatchers, maybe Rebellion cards should be worth half of what Riftwatcher cards are. That's a hypothesis, and we can pull on extra pieces of data to try and go further on that conversation. I think you have to look at any outside or additional utility you might have from either Rebellion or Riftwatcher packs that could complement the use case for one or the other or both and change the story. So it's not just about supply of packs, it's also about utility. And we know that the Rebellion cards have greater utility than Riftwatchers for a couple of reasons. For one, there's conflicts. For at least a couple more months, 3 more months, we're going to have, like this month plus 2 more months, we'll have airdrops that are being paid out to pack holders as well as card holders for the Rebellion card set. And so that's an additional utility that is currently being afforded to Rebellion content holders or card holders or pack holders, etc. And those rewards change the formula around whether or not a Riftwatcher pack, or sorry, which has greater utility, Rebellion or Riftwatcher. And so this is a marker that allows Rebellion to be more expensive. And I think this is the main reason why when you come in to look at cards, you find that Rebellion have really like held their value. Look at my set. These are my card. No, yeah. Buy cards. I'm not logged in here. I'm always logged in. My Rebellion cards have really held value. Like around 1,500 is what I last saw. We'll find out today if that's still accurate. But I think it will be. There we go. Let's go to my cards and we look at Rebellion specifically. 1,700. So in fact, my Rebellion cards have really held value. I think I paid $1,500 for my Rebellion cards. And so we've gone up a little, but frankly, nothing that couldn't disappear tomorrow, because, you know, a few of my cards might be selling at, you know, at a certain high price today, and then tomorrow they're not, and that affects the overall price point. So anyways, they've held value this entire time. I think they will continue to hold value so long as Rebellion airdrops are being paid out, because that is a huge utility that goes towards those cards. But that's not going to last forever. It's going to be 3 more months. That's one consideration that is currently buoying Rebellion price. And another would be that Rebellion will be in the Modern League longer, right? Hang on, let me make sure that that's accurate. It is, right? Yeah, because Riftwatchers is like part of the Chaos Legion. Yeah. And so Riftwatchers will disappear from the Modern League sooner than Rebellion. And that, I don't know if that's a year sooner, probably, I guess, right? Something like that, maybe. And that gives an additional type of utility to the Rebellion card assets as well as packs. Maybe it means, you know, I don't know. The data, you could really dive deep on this too, and I haven't prepared these numbers, but you know that the last we heard from Matt, there was like, I think 60 or 70,000 accounts playing in Wild, and there was like 3,000 accounts playing in Modern. It might have been a little more on the Modern side, but you know, we've seen a reallocation of that ever since they implemented permanent passes. But we're still probably, I imagine, like less than 5,000 accounts playing in Wild, or sorry, in Modern. And So there's a relatively small amount of accounts that are going to provide that demand, that are going to really enjoy that modern only card set. But that is a pressure that makes Rebellion more desirable, and will make it Rebellion more desirable than Riftwatchers in the medium to longer term. So those are factors that sort of point us towards believing that Rebellion should carry value, at least in the medium term. But then there's other factors such as we talked about. Rebellion will have, will end up being printed in greater degree than Riftwatchers. Another conversation is like which set has better cards, and that's going to be an opinion thing. But I would say Rebellion is more powerful, especially the summoners. It's bigger. It's a bigger account or a bigger card set, and I would argue that they're more powerful. And then I think, with those considerations in sort of your back pocket, I think it makes sense to pop in and look at the price differentials of some of these cards. You go into the buy and you just look at them now. Where are they currently? Like if we go into Rebellion, let's just grab legendaries, for instance. We just look at legendaries, Rebellions, look at regular foils. They're starting in that $3 range, and let's open this window over here and we'll do Riftwatchers legendaries. Go buy, Riftwatcher, regular foil, legendary. And so we're high bid of $1 for Runemancer. Let's look at 3 of the really impressive legendary cards from each set. And we'll look at them from regular foil as well as gold foil. And I want to speculate about what we might be able to predict from a price point standpoint, because I think there's an opportunity wrapped in all this data that leads us to project certain directions up or down on price points. And that might allow us to make decisions that could financially benefit us. Before I look at the 3 from each, I want to check out the chat, see if you guys are saying anything. Paul says we should get over 1 million. We should get over 1 million, which is between beta and untamed. I see. So you're comparing it between beta and untamed, but then you're not looking at the DAO packs in that context, I think. Without DAO, it's less than 1 million. Yeah. State of Survival, Rebellion Summoners may turn out. Do you guys, with both of you making that comment around without the DAO, don't you believe that those will somehow reach market? I'm inclined to, let's put it this way. If you were buying a limited asset, like a car that was, super mint and beautiful and special and, limited issuance, and there's only a few copies, only a few of its kind and caliber, but then there was like 1,000 of them sitting in some factory somewhere in perfect mint condition, and they're promised not to come on marketplace, you would have to let that factor into the conversation around scarcity, even if you thought they're never going to come to market. So I kind of want to say, I think we ought to think of the DAO packs as if they are possible circulating supply. State of Survival, Rebellion Summoner may turn out to be the most expensive in the game. Yeah, I agree. Lack of sales on packs just means less cards available for that set, which means rarity and scarcity, we don't notice it yet. I think there's a real argument in there, and that absolutely needs to be brought to the conversation. So that's part of it too. Caliber of card is important. It's not okay to say there's twice as many Rebellion, and so Rebellion is going to be half as much as Riftwatcher. It depends on the card utility, and part of the card utility is the length of time in Modern, like I said, but also the caliber of the card, like you're pointing to, and like you're pointing to. So as Mont's saying, it's going to be something like the Untamed. Yeah, Modern will be interesting. Chaos Legions. Modern will be interesting when Chaos Legion moves out. It's going to be a totally different vibe because many people don't even have Rebellion yet. And when this new set comes out, what's happening with the crypto price points? Is Rebellion out of circulation probably when the next when SPS soars? Is it while Rebellion is currently selling in the next 3 months, or is it after that? Because that'll really do something from a price standpoint and a new gameplay design. Because when the next set launches in, I don't know, is it a year? I don't think it's 2 years. I don't really know, and I don't think they've said. We know the new Soulbounds are coming out soon, but I don't think it's going to be crazy long before we see that next set. Okay. International Travel Channel, good to see you too. Guten Tag. Good morning to you, right? Good day to you. That's what it means. Gathering, good to see you. Rebellion over twice the size of Rift. Yeah, but depends again on how you approach the DAO packs and also caliber of cards. So, okay, with all those things said, love the comments, guys. Thank you. Keep it coming. If there are certain cards from Riftwatchers, like a Legendary, I'm going to grab 3 from Rebellion and from Legendary. I want to look at 3 of the most impactful Legendaries and speculate on how this card supply what that'll tell us about it. If we just scroll down and see the most expensive, we could look at Summoners. Summoners is not fair because the Summoners from Rebellion are way better, right? What is the Riftwatcher Summoner even? Do they have? They don't have Summoners? There you go. Oh, no, they do. I knew they did. But these compared to, even Ilthane, come on now. Like yes, it's kind of cool to have 4 mana, but these don't compare, man. This is not even, so we'll stay away from Summoners. I'm going to come back to Legendaries. You know what? Let's look at the 3 most expensive Legendary monsters. Yeah. Okay. So we'll look at the 3 most expensive Legendary monsters from each set. Okay, so Venka the Vile, Rage, and Darg versus Inevitable, Immolition, and Agor. Is that a fair line in the sand? I'm trying to do an analysis here that allows us to really come away with some conclusions. And I haven't done this before. It's not like pre-thought through. So I'm trying to pick a sample that makes sense. In some sense, if you grab the top 3 versus the top 3, that makes sense. But also, pricing on Rebellion is more in flux than pricing on Riftwatchers, because Riftwatchers is already closed and been closed for a while, and Rebellion is currently ongoing, but still, I think this is as good a line in the sand as any. So inevitable $23 per 11. That's a big drop off. Is that card supply or is that utility? So there's 3,800 inevitables. There's 4,200 immolitions and 10,000 aggro longtails. Whoa, that's a huge difference in supply. Versus, see, these card supplies are going to be all wonky. 4,500, 52, 4,500. The card supplies are not comparable, so that's tricky. What are we looking at price-wise? Venka's at 20, low buy 20, versus Inevitable 23. So those cards are so different. Let's start there, though. I wish they were more comparable cards. Inevitable, a main tank. No, I don't want to compare that to anything else. Yeah, okay. So Venka the Vile, I think, carries its greatest utility because of its application against the meta. Meaning the charge and the, what's the other thing called? Well, charge in combination with a press is very powerful. Especially since weapons training has changed how often we see non-attacking monsters be put in the main tank position. And so I think Venka's price is largely from a utility standpoint as a counter to the meta. That's worth noting. It doesn't mean we can't analyze this. Whereas Inevitable has got that main tank stability or that main tank offering. And at the higher levels, the interesting thing about this too is like main tank with support, which is kind of crazy. With that triage and the strengthen and allowing, for instance, a taunter from the back line, which on the white team we know we've got the, what's it called? I forget its name right now, but you know, the one that has Martyr. I would have thought that these cards would be less expensive in comparison to Rebellion. At this moment, I would have thought the most expensive Rebellion Legendary, Riftwatcher Legendary, would be less expensive, significantly less expensive than the most expensive Rebellion card. Because utility right now with airdrops. And as I'm surprised by that price point differential or similarity, let's say price point similarity, And Venka's got 4,500 units versus 4,500 units, or 4,000 units, which is pretty close. It makes me wonder if Riftwatchers is undervalued or Rebellion is overvalued. But I think something has to change. I think that's the thesis I'm putting together in my mind. Something is going to change because a lot of the value proposition for Rebellion will shrink and deteriorate over the next few weeks and months, which should either mean Rebellion is overpriced and will drop in price, or that Riftwatchers will rise. Riftwatchers is currently undervalued and will rise in price because it's maybe being ignored because of flexibility. People are buying into Rebellion, spending their money there to try and take advantage of airdrops and conflict battles. Whereas if all things were considered equal and there were no conflict battles, which we know there will be no more conflicts in the near future because there's not another conflict planned, that should point us to no unusual buying incentives on one pack over another. And you would think if they're all in modern, one would be more inclined to buy the greater utility for the less value. And so I kind of think, based on pack supply, more of Rebellion than Riftwatchers, based on short-term sort of functionality and usefulness, short-term meaning a year, you probably see a price increase on some Riftwatcher cards when there's a removal of certain buying incentives from the Rebellion side. Either that, or the Riftwatchers holds its value in a better way, but maybe stays stagnant than the Rebellion, which would, in a sense, be the same outcome, meaning Riftwatcher is probably over the next 6 months to 9 months going to be the better hold, either because it's going to go up in value because there'll be a removal of buying incentives from Rebellion, or that Riftwatchers will stay stagnant, but it'll stay stagnant while other assets such as Rebellion, which have been stagnant and have held strong and maybe even gone up, will stop going up because they've lost greater utility. So I'm wondering if this is a conversation in a moment to think through if there's cards that you would want and find value in holding and start making those moves. Specifically to me, that falls in that Riftwatcher place because of supply, because of current access in the modern, because of these cards are quite powerful, and because I think they're being overlooked right now. So I don't know if you guys feel that, one, this kind of hypothesis makes sense, and that if so, two, like which of the theories do you think Riftwatchers goes up as Rebellion loses some of its functionality with respect to conflicts, or do you think that Riftwatchers actually stay stagnant? But I think we have to agree Rebellion loses value, right? I assume we all agree with that. There's no, in my mind, and I've heard some people argue that Rebellion will go up after it's out of circulation. I don't really buy that. So those are my thoughts on this. I think this is a moment where talking this through can get us to a place of being able to take advantage of this a moment that's coming. We're probably 12 weeks away from this moment transpiring. So I think Rebellion holding at this moment is great for airdrops. It's problematic from a US dollar standpoint. Moving 16 weeks out, I think you see a loss. Now, loss is maybe not the right word because it'll be a paper loss. It doesn't have to be you don't have to log that loss because you don't need to sell the unit. You can just keep using it and enjoying the card. And then, maybe we go 18 months out and we see that Riftwatchers slips out of modern, and then you're in a different conversation because Riftwatchers loses value at that time, I would argue. And so this is a moving target, and it depends on depends on how you're building your deck. It depends on what your timelines are, and it depends on maybe how you weigh some of these variables. But it seems like to me this is a conversation that can and should put certain people in a driver's seat for certain decisions that could be financially helpful. And so I'm not entirely sure where I land on it yet, but I'm inclined to say I would like to start buying Riftwatcher cards. That's ultimately where this brings me. That's ultimately where this brings me, because I think some of these cards, which I don't have, like I don't have Inevitable. I think I have a level 2 Inevitable. I don't think I have an Immolition at all. Agor I have maxed out. Some of these supplies, though, are kind of wild. Like 10,000 Agors is totally different than some of those. How is that possible, by the way? Why is there almost 11,000 Agor Longtails? And then we look at we look at Immolation, and there's only 4,200. Seawreck, why is there so many more Agors than Seawreck? 10,000 Coral Lurkers. Is it because this one was an airdrop? I'm forgetting now which ones were airdrops. Maybe that's what it was. But anyways, I'm starting to feel, and I have actually for several months, that Riftwatchers is an asset that's being overlooked and needs, makes sense to look at. And I only superficially scratched the surface with respect to the legendaries, but I think we know full well that the rares from the Riftwatcher set were amazing, and frankly, many of them could have been epics. So there again, there's maybe a conversation in there too. And commons, there's some really powerful ones. I don't think I have a max Dumok Exile. I really like the Arachne Thug. If you don't have it, I'd recommend get it. I never maxed out my Night Ghoul. I don't think I even have a max Bramble. I think I have like a level 8 or something like that. My Ash Mirage is one level away from full. So to me, Riftwatchers is a place where I want to start paying more attention. And I wonder if you guys agree. I'm going to check out the comments. Inevitable is a Beast, says Gathering. Don't use promos to comp. That's a good point. You're right, brother. That is. So yeah, unpack. And Iziar is Gathering dropped the name of that martyr card. Iziar was the one I couldn't remember. But yeah, promo, you would want to, if you were to do a deep dive on what I just tried to superficially cover, you would want to make sure you're not covering promos. Inevitable is a promo. Thank you for that. Gathering says Rift is way undervalued. I think, yeah. So undervalued. You would believe that they're going to go up in price. I think long term they are going to go up in price. Everything's on timeline. Or in my mind, if we blow this out 4 years, I think these prices are ridiculously low. But then 3 to 9 months, what's going to happen? Because I think there's a wave that we can ride in that window. I think either Riftwatcher holds its value better than Rebellion in the next 3 to 9 months, or it goes up in value in a way that is better than Rebellion. I might be wrong about that, but that is where I'm pointing towards.